Scott? Waters?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
O'Kane?
Here.
Shaner?
Here.
We stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gotcha. Appreciate it, man.
John Reinders.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
All right. You guys can film from or take pictures wherever you want. We have a commendation today that reads, whereas John Reinders is the longest serving president in Morningside University's history, serving since 1999. In his 22 years, Morningside has experienced historic enrollment numbers, record-breaking fundraising, excellence in academics, performing arts and athletics, and a dramatic physical transformation of the campus. Whereas Reinders' leadership guided Morningside in its transition from college to university, launched new graduate programs and its first doctoral program. His vision to transition Morningside from the NCAA Division II to NAIA has resulted in one of the finest small university athletic programs in the country that has shined a new light on both Morningside and Sioux City. And Russ Reinders has committed himself to making Morningside a regional resource that offers academic programs and experiences that ultimately enrich Siouxland and help attract students who help Sioux City and their region continue to thrive. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Sioux City, do hereby deem it an honor and a pleasure to extend this commendation to John Reinders on the occasion of his retirement, and we wish him all the best in his new chapter of his life and thank him for the dedication to Sioux City and Morningside University. I'd like to say a few words. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Scott, Council, thank you very, very much. This means the world to us. It has been a heck of a great run. It has been fun to watch over these 22 years as the college has flourished, and under your leadership for quite a number of those years, we've watched Sioux City flourish as well. And I think there's a synergy there between the city and Morningside University that is really special for this region of the country. So I can't thank you enough, Bob and I. Never been anywhere in our lives that we enjoyed more than Sioux City. We'll always hold it in good.
Well, you can always come back and visit.
You bet.
All right.
Thanks.
Good luck. Kelly Bach and Sam Wagner. We have a proclamation whereas the Arbor Day holiday was first observed in 1872 with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. Whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting, heating, and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business area, and beautify our community with a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim April 29, 2022 as Arbor Day in Sioux City and urge all our citizens to plant trees for the well-being of this and future generations. Kelly, thank you. You want to say a few words? Or got trees to give away?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Kelly Bach, Parks Superintendent. Thank you for your support with this. We are planning Arbor Day celebration this year. We'll be working with Dakota Valley Environmental Group. They were generously funded some trees for us to plant at the Railroad Museum at 3:30 on Friday. So the invitation is open if you want to be there at 3:30 Friday at the Railroad Museum. And thank you for your support and continuing to push us to get more trees.
All right. Mr. Wagner, you have something for the good of the order.
I certainly do. Thank you, Mayor Scott, members of the council. So, trees, please. It is one of the pleasures of my job to be able to come back here every year and present a check through our Trees Please program to the city of Sioux City. Just matched up perfectly this year with Arbor Day. You said all the things I was going to say about how awesome trees are, so I'm not going to repeat any of that.
They don't have enough of it. $1 million wasn't enough in Nebraska because I drove there Saturday and the topsoil was blowing pretty good there Saturday.
Yeah, well, that's Nebraska.
We need more.
They're not served by you, I know.
That's Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't talk about them.
Well, thank you.
So thank you, Mayor Scott.
Appreciate it.
Kelly?
All right. All right, thank you. All right, consent agenda items 2 through 11D, consider them to pass unanimously. If you want to speak on an item, please come up as I read that number. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
2 is the reading of the city council minutes of April 18th. What about shouldn't the minutes for the demolition hearing be on that too?
No, the agenda goes out Thursday afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much. 3 is a motion acknowledging the Board of Adjustment actions of April 12th. 4 is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the Pierce Street Water Main Replacement Project. 5 is a resolution authorizing payment to Avery Brothers Sign Company for installation of the Watchfire digital signage at the Convention Center. 6 are actions relating to grants and donations. A is a resolution approving an application for Consolidated Transit Assistance Funding. B is a resolution authorizing applications for federal transportation assistance. C is a resolution authorizing an application for Iowa Communities Assurance Pool Risk Management Grant to purchase personnel gas monitoring equipment. D is a resolution accepting a railroad revolving loan and grant program agreement with the IDOT for the Coal Link Logistics Rail Spur project. E is a resolution accepting a donation from the Siouxland Pickleball Association for the purchase of 6 picnic tables for the Riverside Park pickleball tennis courts.
Hey, Matt, I wanted to just had a quick comment about that, and I meant to talk to you about it on one of the multiple times I bothered you today. But one of the things I just wanted to, obviously I think this is a great thing. I'm glad we're going to have some picnic tables out there, and it's great of the Pickleball Association to kind of work with you on that. The one thing I wanted to mention was, have we ever pursued, I know that Hy-Vee does like recycled benches, that they've done that before. Have you heard about that program, or have we ever pursued that?
Matt Salvatore, Parks and Recreation Director. So all the benches that you see around town in our park system, like at Combe Park, the ones that are engraved, those are all made out of 100% recycled plastic.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I knew that Hy-Vee did that program. They partnered with Briarcliff a couple times, and I didn't know where we were getting them or if we had worked through that. But just got my wheels turning of another avenue that we can possibly get for some more benches. So, yeah, where there's a cutout space. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something we've talked about a little bit as well, is trying to pursue those areas where sometimes where you have benches or things like that where there's a cutout, whether it's a person, obviously like myself, that uses a wheelchair, or a lot of times I've seen strollers and stuff like that be able to park next to them.
Yeah, and we did a lot of that on a riverfront development project, and that'll be our focus moving forward.
That'll be our first one where we start integrating those?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Great. Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question back on 6D. I just want to make sure I understand. Is Chris here? Or Marty? Marty. On 6D, I want to go back to 6D. I just have a quick question for you. On the construction of the rail spur that we'll be doing, is this award, this grant award, is that for about, am I reading this right? Is that for about 50% of the cost of the rail spur?
Yeah. I'm looking for Chris. I think he must have left, so.
Okay.
Rail grants are normally 50%.
Is that what they run? Okay, I guess that's what I was wondering, if it wasn't going to be more.
I think it was 687,000
But they're normally, I told him, rail grants are normally 50, roads are normally 80.
Roads can vary
80
based
to
on
90.
if there's a certain number of jobs involved or whether it's a business park development. It can be 50 to 80%. The rail is 50%.
And that'll be for construction starting this year?
Yes, it's through the state's rail revolving loan and grant fund. It's can apply once a year. The timing was good for us to apply as part of the project, and the other costs will be made up through the TIF agreement.
Okay, thanks.
687, that represents 50% of it?
Yes, of the rail spur.
Of just the rail
Rail spurs are expensive, and the state has a program when it's associated with industrial development. We've been able to take advantage of it a few times, and so when we built the rail yard in Southbridge, we wanted to have companies locate there that would eventually use a spur, so they wouldn't just use our track for their own storage of cars. So they would bring them in our yard and then transfer them to their site through a spur. So.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
7 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving amendment number 1 to the work order number 47 with RS&H Iowa for the Aviation Center project at the airport. B is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with DGR Engineering for the Cone Mountain Bike Park project. I want to go back to A. How long is RS&H's contract for now? I know forever, but I just have to ask. Because there will be another project that we just can't break. We're going to have to just keep them.
Mike Collette, Assistant City Manager. So it goes through June of 23. So in the fall, we'll put out proposals. And
how long has it been?
5 years. 5-year contracts is what we issue those in.
D is a resolution approving a contract with Nebcon for the fiber optic project.
Matt, I want to touch base on B. And it probably actually comes down to the later item in association with the Cone Mountain Bike Park project. The only thing I wanted to make sure is when we're working with these consultants, if we could do everything we can. I know we've had a master plan kind of for down in that area, and we're looking at, I forget where the rendering had the pump track, but it just got me really thinking about making sure that we're setting ourselves up for future success down there, or at least having the space available for expansion. And I mean, we've talked about other amenities, obviously, but I think even parking, water runoff, those types of things, just so that we are being as strategic as possible to know where those types of things are going when we're, I mean, this is a significant project, and I think there's a lot of excitement and momentum that's only going to continue in that area. And I know you're thinking about it. I just wanted to make sure to say it in open session that we're focusing on that too.
Yeah, we've had many of those conversations with IMBA and DGR, and we're looking at the space holistically instead of just
isolated projects and things like that. I mean, I think about that all the time with even Cone Park and the strategy behind where we placed it and things like that. But the last thing that I was going to mention as far as the accessibility of it is, again, a selfish plug. If there's anything we can do just to try to make it as inclusive as possible so people can watch this. I think about, obviously, people watching their grandkids maybe or something want to go up and at least watch some of it or engage with a part of the park. I know I would appreciate that, and I can imagine some grandparents or other people with mobility impairments would.
So IMBA, they're experts in the adaptive area of design of this kind of project. So we are incorporating that in. It won't be 100% accessible, but the areas that we can make accessible, that's going to be a major focus on this part of the project.
Cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
E is a resolution approving renewal option number 1 with Nebraska Salt and Grain for rock salt. E is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with Black & Veatch for the Northeast Service Level Pumping Station Water Main and Elevated Tank Preliminary Design Project. F is a resolution awarding a paratransit contract and approving a joint participation vehicle use agreement for service with Siouxland Regional Transit System.
I promise this might be the last one I have on the consent, so I apologize. Mike? I just wanted to ask about having one responsive bidder. I mean, if you have concerns about that, or if the job been done has been pretty satisfactory. I know that you've been working with them on a couple different things. Are there many other services out there? I mean, I thought up in Okoboji, don't they have ride service? it's called Rides or some program up there. I didn't know if you were surprised to only have one responsive bidder or.
No, that in recent history, that has been the case, and they've been a good partner. They provide
Yeah.
good service. They, they're able to provide a good service because they use the same driver for their own service and paratransit, so they can kind of dual use those drivers, which are in short supply right now.
Yeah.
And I think usually the rural provider is the one to bid on the urban paratransit contracts for the most part, if the city doesn't provide it themselves. It's still more cost effective at these levels for them to provide it, and it gets to be a driver resource issue.
Okay.
The drivers that I know say they don't overlap, so that's weird that they're telling you that.
Yeah, they use them on both sides. Maybe not every single one of them. Out in the rural communities, maybe they do more so. They come in for additional hours.
G is a resolution approving a renewal option number 1 with CAP for the asphalt millings, clean crushed concrete, crushed asphalt, and crushed concrete. H is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with Trail Solutions International Mountain Bicycling Association for the Cone Park Bike Park Project. 8 is actions relating to property. A is a resolution scheduling a hearing on a proposed amendment number 1 to the amended and restated combined Floyd River Urban Renewal Plan property at 550 Expo Center Drive. B is a resolution inviting proposals for the lease of land in the combined central Sioux City CBD urban renewal area, announcing the intent to accept the proposal of the Hesse Foundation and scheduling a hearing on the property at 401 Gordon Drive. So we're not going to pay rent, we're not going to pay utilities, and we don't know what the projects exactly are yet. That's the bothersome part for me, is that if it was any other department and they were doing this, they'd have to bring us a list of what you're going to do and what the estimated costs. And I said a year ago when we did this that this would happen, and here we are. So, I appreciate all you guys are doing, but.
Dustin Cooper, the Arena. Also serve as the director of the Hesse Foundation. We, number one, appreciate the time, appreciate the questions. I hope that I can articulate well enough that you maybe have an understanding of where we were, where we are, and where we're going. I think that what we've been able to do with the Long Lines Recreation Center and the activity that we've been able to put inside of that historical building has been unlike anything in the last 15 years. I think this is simple. We have an ask. It became very apparent to us as we ran events that there are some very much needed updates to this building. Should we want to continue to grow events and bring those to downtown Sioux City, I think that it's a logical ask as well that's going to not only benefit the city, going to also benefit other stakeholders as well, the taxpayer being one of them. Again, when we run an event and we're able to use that facility for that large event, that's bringing hundreds, if not thousands, of people to not only Sioux City, but more specifically downtown Sioux City, which is great for businesses, spurring economic development. People downtown paying sales tax, people filling up our hotels, which, obviously supporting our CVB and other programs as well. So I think that this is something that is going to pay dividends down the road. I'm very excited to work hand in hand with Parks and Recreation to revive a historical, iconic building in downtown Sioux City that many of us grew up going to the circus and watching the Harlem Globetrotters and things of that nature. I'm open to any questions that the council may have for me. Again, just very excited to be a part of the project. And I actually think it's an incredibly positive thing.
Mayor, to answer your question, you should be. It's your job to sell us on that, but it's just difficult. I see what she's got in here, but I know what's going to happen. next year you're gonna do this list of things, and then next year you're gonna come here and say, well, we need more stuff, and we're never gonna get rent on this building. I mean, that's what's gonna happen. You didn't wanna really pay rent partway into the deal, so, and I get it, I'm not stupid, I understand there's stuff that needs to be done, but when can the taxpayers expect that they might get rent again? At least the utility bill. I don't know of any other thing we subsidize quite like this.
I think the premise behind the proposal is as long as there's an identified project and there's funds coming in to benefit the facility and upgrade the facility, that there wouldn't be future rent and utility.
Exactly, that's my point. We're never going to get it again.
That's the whole premise.
Right. And
But
you know, we had a golf course that said they could never pay rent until we actually legitimately took a bid out. And mysteriously, that they could never pay rent, now pay $100,000. Am I the only guy that sees the irony in these type of proposals, I guess? And I'm not, what you guys do is great, but for the, not to be even able to pay the utilities is where I've got a problem. I know I'm the only one, but at least I feel better that I brought it up. And I know Mr. Hesse's going to be upset, but I think as a taxpayer and as my job as a steward for taxpayers, I should be asking those questions.
And I think, I guess from my perspective, I'm in support of the project. I think it's really a mutually beneficial situation for a number of different reasons. But I guess to the mayor's point, I agree. We all need to be respectful and good stewards of taxpayer dollars. And quite frankly, I see no better way that the taxpayers actually should be excited about this partnership, because we are utilizing a facility that was underutilized, and we don't have the staff to man it at the level that they're doing, nor do we have the opportunity to provide programs in that facility to the level these individuals are willing to provide it, which any taxpayers that want to take advantage of some of these programs, have kids, grandkids that want to participate, I think they're excited about it as well. And these individuals are actually investing in an asset that is taxpayer owned as well. So, I mean, that's one thing I'm excited about is, you know, we've breathed some life into this facility, upgrading the court and the seats and some of those things, but they're taking it to a whole nother level of upgrading the facility, which I think is a good use of taxpayer dollars. I don't necessarily need a rent check or utility check to see the investment that's being made in that facility, or the economic impact that's going to be had by continuing to bring hundreds of people to our downtown, which I know Julia spoke about before in the restaurant industry as well. So I appreciate the mayor's point. I think that this is a good utilization of taxpayer dollars and going to invest in a beautiful facility that was underutilized.
And I just want to make it very clear, too, that I respect and understand your point as well. And by no stretch of the imagination do I take offense to having an open conversation. I think every time that I've been up here, I've been very open about that, willing to have a conversation. As a person who was born and raised here, moved away, came back, I think that this is an opportunity for us to think outside the box a little bit. Again, breathe life into something that hasn't had it for quite some time. And it's been a beautiful partnership between ourselves, Parks and Recreation, and many other not-for-profits around the community that have helped a ton of people. Many not-for-profits in the city of Sioux City do not have a physical space to serve their people. And what we have done has been donate that space to these nonprofits all as well to execute their mission. So not only providing additional programming, increasing the size of some of the events that we're running, but also doing that as well. So it's very multifaceted. Also just our commitment to always trying to do the right thing. And I think that this is the right thing. In my heart, I feel like it is. I feel like it's going to be great for the city of Sioux City. But again, respect your point and always willing to have a conversation and hopefully have an answer that I can articulate.
Just setting the date then for this June 6th, the 30-day notice. So what form does the amendment come in? Because I've now seen a couple of different versions. And so we don't have to worry about that at this point in time. What the amendment will look like, we can negotiate that during the 30 days.
Correct. They will have to submit a formal proposal, which oftentimes takes the form of a proposed piece amendment, which would then be brought to the council
Okay. So I can see the improvements that you're making to this facility, much needed and very expensive. But if there are improvements that stay with the facility, stay with the building, to the benefit of the city and the taxpayers, I can understand where you're coming from. I thought the issues were just limited to this, but it seems like we're expanding some other amendments. I just took a real quick read of that because I think it came in this morning. And so I hope we can just stay with what your goal is here with the improvements being made and the money that you're putting in, and then a credit, or not a credit. What would it be against the rent payments? Would it be a credit or a deferral? A deferral. I'm looking forward to seeing the final version.
So those two things that they're pointing out have to be done next year?
It's still in negotiation.
Well, I mean, it's a big deal. If I get free rent and I don't have to do anything for 2 or 3 years, then it's a big deal. You have to do that kind of improvement every year, or what do the taxpayers gain?
To answer your question, they're planning on starting on the improvements in June and be shut down for a period of time to complete those improvements.
It should be a rent credit. You don't defer something I'm not gonna.
I see what you're getting at.
I see what you're saying too.
Deferred means you're going to get paid later, but we're not.
Yeah.
So it's a waiver of the rent in lieu of doing the repairs is really what we're looking at, right?
Okay,
Yes.
But many times we have agreements that aren't that clear. I want
Yeah.
to make sure that we
Yeah.
all understand.
Yep. That's something that I mentioned earlier. If we're deferring it, that's postponing it.
There would have to be proof of the cost incurred in the
Right.
work being done before whatever we choose to call it, the deferral or the credit, take the rent.
Right.
Those costs would have to be proven, otherwise they're not the rent outstanding. But again, this is
Just tidying that up one, right.
Okay.
I think it's great. I think you are a visionary and you have a great idea about how you'd like to improve this historical building that's important to all of us. If you're from Sioux City, it's important to you. In our talks, just going out to the building, the old Hobby Lobby, and seeing how that retail space has transformed into something I would never have imagined being there before. I'm really excited to see what you come up with. And I'm very thankful for you and your family because you've contributed a lot to our city. And although it may not always show it, we're very grateful for you.
I appreciate it.
Well, Matthew, that's not my point.
I know.
The point
and
is
you've
that we have got to
too.
put safeguards into these agreements that we
Right.
have historically have not always done, because we need to make sure that people perform to what we say they're going to do, and
That's a
We have to
valid
ensure
point.
that there's a value add for the rent that we'll be waiving.
We also have to make sure that somebody's maintaining the historical building that could very, very easily fall into disarray.
Mayor, I want to make sure I understand what you are saying, though, because if an improvement's made to the facility that stays with the facility and it's valued at X dollar, or not valued, it's your expenditure is X dollars, you expect that X dollars to go toward what the monthly
Correct.
rent is. Is that what you're saying? And you're saying, well, don't defer the rent or don't forgive the rent if there are no expenditures by the tenant.
And
I mean,
can that be what you think it means?
well, that's the way I read this.
I'm saying yes.
Yeah.
And of course I guess to me it would be common sense that we would have to show proof of the money being put in and the improvements being done before we see any sort of rent credit. Again, maybe that's not common. To me, it is.
And if it's not a, well, I'm really going to stretch myself here, but if it's not a capital improvement, if it's a fix-up or a repair, that wouldn't be included in this formula.
I mean, I think we're out in the weeds talking about a fix-up and a repair. I'm not prepared to speak on that. I think the lease actually outlines if there's a major repair over a certain amount of dollars, that is on the city to make. For example, if the roof collapses. That's not on us to fix. But if it's, what we're talking about is what I would consider a major renovation or overhaul of, and some things just are just safety issues. For example, the pads that surround the courts themselves, there's not a chance that we're getting a certified event of any sport if they came and inspected the facility. It's a safety issue. So those are the types of things that we're talking about. The basketball hoops have to be replaced. There's, and again, I don't want to go out too far in the weeds. We get requests from out-of-town teams to not play in that facility because of some of the things that are going on.
But I find this to be helpful from the standpoint that if you would terminate the lease, those items would stay. You wouldn't pull those out. So we're taking our basketball hoops because we put them in.
Yeah, no,
we're
take my
not
ball and
taking
go
out
home.
the
No, we
you
would
see
not.
what I'm saying?
Absolutely, and that's and I hope that's clear. We want to invest in the that's if we walk away the next day after the major overhaul is done, that's something that the city or the next group that comes in to utilize that facility is going to be able to enjoy for years. Yeah.
We just need to make sure that's what the agreement
Absolutely,
states, but
yeah,
that's my
absolutely.
understanding as well.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
9, purchasing A is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Council Bluffs Winsell, I can't even say the word, for one easy valve insertion tool kit. B is a resolution awarding purchase orders to Boundtree Medical for small medical equipment, supplies, and pharmaceutical for fire department emergency medical services. C is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Ferguson Water Works for 10 Neptune water meters. D is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Badger Meter for 83 Badger water meters. 10 are applications for beer and liquor license. See the list come forward if you have questions. 11 are boards, commissions, and committee minutes. See the list come forward if you have questions. Anyone
Mayor,
to be heard on any of those
We ask
items?
that 9A item be deleted for Win Nelson.
Why is that?
Need to review the specs. It'll be brought probably next week.
Okay, I'll move we delete 9A.
Second.
Waters?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
O'Kane?
Aye.
Shaner?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye. Passes 5-0. 12, recommendations of planning and zoning hearing and ordinance amending chapter 25.6 administration to expand membership eligibility on the Historic Preservation Commission to an employee of a city business who resides either inside or outside the city limits. P&Z recommends denial. I'll move it.
Oh, second.
You move it, you're going against P&Z. Mr. Gary, you wagered it all and you lost.
We wagered, but I gotta say, you gave me some flack last time. We came in just a few points ahead of you. That music question from the band, they were gonna win. So she put a tough quiz together. Yeah, it's technically denial because we had a 6-member commission and we split right down the middle on it. So we're essentially a split board on the discussion point of this item. And from a positive and negative standpoint, which you probably have heard or read, essentially those who were in favor felt like it was essentially a close call, and that given the opportunity to add good members without them taking over the entire board was worth doing. And then those who were opposed really felt as though this is our community. They're making decisions for our community, and they're not. And while they may, work here, they don't pay taxes, they don't vote here, and that's the other side of it. So it was a lengthy discussion, and and when Ryan Ross can bust out the word carpetbagger in a discussion, it's a lively conversation at P&Z. So, but yeah, we split 3-3 on the issue.
Hearing's open. Anyone else to be heard?
Here are my thoughts on this. I asked the city clerk for an accounting of vacancies on our boards and commissions, and we're doing pretty good. We really are. I mean, coming out of a pandemic where we couldn't make personal calls and ask the boards and commissions, the members of those existing commissions to go out and help recruit members. So I think if it's to fill, and yeah, there's what on the Historic Preservation Commission? There's 3 vacancies. But, you know, there's 7 on the Yamanashi City Sister City Committee, and Active Transportation Advisory Committee have 4 vacancies. Those are probably the most of the three boards. So, I mean, I think it's a little premature to be going outside for this reason. I think we need to do a better job. I think our members need to do a better job of helping with recruiting. I haven't been able to get out like I have before to actually hand out applications. I still do the paper stuff instead of saying just go to the website. But I think we can all do a better job of populating these boards and commissions. And if we cannot, one thing I do look at, and this doesn't apply at all to the Historic Preservation Commission, but I think we always need to look and review what commissions and boards do we need, which ones really help, which ones are essential to the operation of giving recommendations to the mayor and the city council. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I was very pleased, by the way, when Lisa, you gave me this list, because so many boards and commissions have 0 vacancies. So I don't know if I've addressed some of it, but I read that somewhere that it's because of the vacancies and we have a concern. But
yeah, the staff came forward with a recommendation, and I think the argument was we've got a potentially good candidate to fill in this spot. It's a labor-intensive board, and we feel like expanding it in this way wouldn't cause harm but could benefit. And I think that the 3 members who voted in favor were moved by those arguments. So, yeah.
And
thank you.
Why did the staff come up with this? I'm just curious, because
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to ask them. Because it seems to me you might have somebody that's expressed an interest, but is that a...
Brian Solstice, City Planning. Staff decided to propose this change to the municipal code because we were dealing with the certificate of appropriateness, and at that time, an architect who lives in Sergeant Bluff had expressed interest in joining the committee. And his insight, although he wasn't on the committee, he sat in on that meeting, and he did provide a lot of insight. And so staff felt like making this change with the condition that the commission could not be overwhelmed by people who do not live in Sioux City was a fair compromise to get someone who is really passionate about historic preservation and brought in the technical skills that the committee or the commission really needs.
See, and I appreciate that, Ryan. I might be in the majority of council, but I am one of those where I think that we're in a unique situation as far as Sioux City with a majority of people living in, or at least working here, you know what I mean? And then some of them go maybe just outside of the city limits or across state lines, even if it's 5 minutes away, you know, to go where they reside. And I, for one, I've served on a ton of committees and I've served on a ton of boards in this community. Finding passionate, knowledgeable individuals to serve in that capacity is worth its weight in gold. You know, if you can find people that are really gung-ho and really knowledgeable about a certain topic, I would take them, you know, as often as possible. And so I think sometimes we have almost an isolationist mindset that it's like, gosh, well, no, if you don't reside in a Sioux City area code, then you're going to be out to get us, or you're not going to think of our own best interest. And I just really don't think that could be further from the truth. And so I think that as long as, like you said, we set parameters, the board isn't overwhelmed by necessarily people that don't live in Sioux City proper, I think you can establish those safeguards. And really, I think our commissions could really benefit from some of that input. So I appreciate you taking this step, and kind of that's where I'm at, whether it's in the minority or not. I think that sometimes that valuable input is really, really worthwhile.
So
and I shouldn't
why don't
have
we
that.
open up our planning and zoning to non-residents too? I mean, if it's so good to have that, I personally don't want somebody that's not a city resident telling me what our planning and zoning rules ought to be. I would have a very difficult time with that. So where do we draw the line, guys? Because you can have 4 people according to this ordinance. Now you say you're not overwhelming. That's overwhelming it to me, because just like these guys, there's always one person short. Just because you're busy people.
Yeah.
And there's always somebody short on the Historical Preservation Committee, they're short, whether it's because people can't show or whatever. Sometimes you have a quorum because you don't have enough members. So where do we draw the line? Because I don't have a problem with somebody having some expertise in that, but what I have a problem with is that Sioux City residents may not be the majority when you vote that day. That's a little bit of a concern to me.
Well, I think our Sioux City residents too do have the talent and the ability and passion. We just haven't reached out to them. They're out there, and we need to ask them. We need to invite them and actually sell. We have to do a marketing and selling job of these boards and commissions. We can't just say, come forward and volunteer your time and sign up, because after all, I mean, it's the Historic Preservation Commission. But I think the talent's out there, and I want to tap into that, at least make an effort, a really good faith effort to tap into that and fill those boards and commissions with Sioux City residents. I don't need to apologize for that. I'm not offending anyone that lives outside of Sioux City. That's their choice. Where we live is a choice we all make. But I think the talent's out there, and I want to tap into it, but I need help doing that. I can't do it by myself.
I agree. I hope they're out there. I would want them to be out
Nothing
there.
against the people who are applying, but
Yeah,
Well-
and to the mayor's point, I do think, I had it written in my notes even, that I didn't know if we were going to get to a point where you want to have a blanket policy. I mean, because there are other boards and commissions, obviously we talked about EAB and others that are bringing forth similar concerns. And so I think that, yeah, you do get to that point where you should have a larger conversation. What is that threshold, and does it matter for various commissions, and kind of where are you at?
I think 4 is an unreasonable number to begin with.
And that's out of the 7?
That's what this ordinance is if you vote for it.
And it's out of the 7, right? Or what?
9.
9.
are we voting to follow planning and the zoning?
9.
Denial?
So we recommended denial, so
We
because
have
of
to
the
move
split
it.
vote.
We have to move it as it came forward.
Yeah, you came forward as a denial, so, how you guys, how you want to sort out the vote is your.
If you,
If it fails, then it will not continue forward. If it passes as presented and moved, then it would go to second.
Okay.
right, but I'm saying if you want to uphold what the planning and zoning, if you want to say it was denied, even though it wasn't, then you'd vote no.
Right.
If you want to take the staff's recommendation, you'll vote yes. That's the easiest way to say it.
And this is for historic preservation, not for everything.
Yeah, and I think the staff had made the argument at the time that this wasn't the first board this had been considered for or done for. And so I think that they looked at, I think some of the testimony is that this has been done on other boards. This has been a trying board to get some good help on. But again, like they said, we split 50-50. I don't think our sister cities are going to match our move and start letting Sioux City residents start voting on getting on their boards and start influencing what's happening in their communities. So those are at least some of the arguments to the other
You
side.
don't think Lance would let me go on a board in South?
Yeah, right.
Just asking.
I mean, if you get a job over there, and there you go.
So So anyway, so that was.
Yeah, right. Thanks for the clarification.
Glad you're here today.
It fails 4-1. Waters votes aye and everybody else voted no. 13 is a hearing and ordinance adopting a site plan for 821 Dubuque Street. The petitioner's Metro FiberNet P&Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Hearing's now open.
This one is a little more straightforward. This is a 6-0 vote to affirm. This is a kind of a unique property plan, and so it came forward under different circumstances and needed to come forward under site plan review. And so the desire was to bring it in and to have this digital hub on this site. The petitioner at the time has got a purchase contract subject to getting rezoned and getting their due diligence done. There was members of the community that live nearby who came forward to voice in some straight opposition, and some who had questions, probably leaning towards opposition. But we felt as though, as it relates to site due diligence, that is on them to do their own due diligence on the site. And then also, since there's no possibility that this could become a cell phone tower or anything else like that, it doesn't meet those sorts of requirements. We think with the fencing and things of that nature, it's going to be relatively shielded from it, and so a vacant lot will be turned into something that's being used, and that's a positive thing.
So because there's no tower, that's why we backed off on all the other deficiencies, because there was a lot of red on that page, but the setback was the only thing that we're...
Yeah, the setback, well, by the time, so when they came out of DRC, and it's not uncommon that a plan comes out of DRC with a lot of red on it, to be perfectly candid. It's their trial run at staff, and they start learning where they're deficient. And so staff can go ahead and verify it for me, but we cleared up a lot of those red items even by Planning and Zoning Commission. They're willing to fix a lot of those things. But the key issue for us was that it couldn't evolve into something that needed larger setbacks by needing a bigger tower. Even I had kind of those questions as we started the P&Z meeting, but I'll let Chris answer.
Chris Madgen, planner. We did receive a new site plan from the petitioner, and they do meet that residential setback now. We just didn't have time to get it into the report.
Anyone else to be heard on this?
The only health concerns were with regard to the tower?
No, I don't think that those would have been the only health concerns that were necessarily raised, was just the tower issue. I think one of the key questions was, could this become something more?
I gotcha.
Which then takes us into another level of scrutiny, and it was clear that that's not going to happen on this site. As far as general health concerns about, increased voltage or things of that nature, I think that was generally, maybe on the surface sort of raised, but I think that there was more questions about the site and could this be somewhere else. But yeah, it meets, it is different for the neighborhood, but it meets all the criteria after they fixed everything. And so given the fact that it's shielded, it's going to be not highly visible, we don't think it's going to be a harm to the community.
And just for clarification, health considerations are one of the items that are not allowed for consideration on approving towers. It's something that's prohibited by the state law.
No one to be heard. Hearing is closed. I'm surprised nobody's here from the neighborhood.
I'm not completely shocked. I got the sense that they were kind of reacting, and I felt like 60% of it was really questions of concern, and then the rest of it was actual opposition. This is also, and as those people who attended pointed out, and staff pointed out when they pulled up the notification map, it's a heavy rental area. So a lot of this went to, a lot of those folks are, here 1 year, gone the next. The homeowners were probably, and so I don't think we had probably quite the turnout because of that as well.
Okay, 14 is a hearing and resolution approving plans and specs for the boat ramp parking lot and trail repair project. I'll move that.
Second.
Hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed.
I just had a question about that one. As far as the timeline, that's happening in April and then should be anticipated to be done by July. Is that right? Is that kind of what we're looking at?
Board and Fair City Engineer, yes, that's what we're
I just didn't know, and I'm open to recommendation for sure. I just didn't know if there was a better time that we should be working on the boat ramp, or if we thought, hey, we need to get this done, or you know what I mean, as far as late in the season, early in the season. I didn't know when the peak boat usage, or if that ramp is still going to be operational, or if we just tell them to go somewhere else. Kind of what was the thought?
I don't know. I really thought about that. Kelly, have you?
Kelly Bach, Park Superintendent. Yes, there will be some impact to the parking, but there's areas right now that are unusable because of the condition. So waiting would still impact the amount of vehicles that would be able to access. So they're going to work around it whoever the contractor is somewhat. So we'll have to just kind of monitor, and if need be, we'll use the grassed area to the north for additional overflow parking.
So the biggest thing that will be impacted is the parking side of it, not now the ramp itself. Will that be operational through, or?
Ramp itself will be functional. I believe there's one panel patch area close to the ramp or just in the mouth of the ramp, but the rest is in the parking lot, mainly to the west of the electrical distribution panel and to the south of that.
Okay. Okay. So it's just more parking. I mean, there's ample parking down there. I get that. You just might have to walk a little ways or, do things differently. I get that. But I just didn't know if it was shutting things down. I wanted to make sure we're not in peak season.
No.
Okay.
Not shutting it down.
Great. Thank you.
Hearing's closed. Passes 5-0. 15 is a hearing and resolution approving a proposal to sell the north one half of the vacated West Canal Street and authorizing a deed. The petitioners Austin and Shannon Speckman. I'll move that.
Second.
Hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Are we ready to vote here?
Yes.
Okay. Passes 5-0. 16 is a hearing resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of geo-urban renewal bonds. I'll move that.
Second.
Hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 17 is a hearing a resolution directing the advertisement for the sale of Geo Bond Series 2022A and approving electronic bidding procedures and official statement. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 18 is a resolution directing the advertisement for the sale of taxable GO urban renewal bonds, Series 2022B, and approving electronic bidding procedures and official statement. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 19 is a resolution consenting to the estoppel certificate between Hawthorne Global Aviation Services and Hawthorne FBO Acquisition Company for the property at 5815 Mitchell Avenue at the airport. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 20 is a resolution approving amendment number 1 to the consulting services agreement with DGR Engineering for the South Fairmont reconstruction project. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 4-1. O'Kane votes no. 21 is a resolution approving an amendment number 1 to the consulting services agreement with DGR Engineering for the Ingleside Avenue reconstruction project. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 4-1. O'Kane votes no. 22 is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Robertson Implement Company for the 4 Gravely Pro Turn 54 deck riding lawnmowers. Or do I have to amend it? Can I do it as I read it? I don't know why I can't make that part of the motion. I don't know what I have to do.
Okay, I'll move the Robertson implementation first.
Second.
Now I'll move to amend the motion correcting the name of the company to Robertson Implement Company.
Second.
Call the roll on the amendment, please.
Moore,
Abstain.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Now on the regular motion.
Go.
Passes 4-0 to 1. Mr. Moore abstained. We've got implementation rather than implement company is what the problem is. Okay. 23 is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Robertson Implementation for 8 Gravely Pro Turn 60 deck riding lawnmowers. I'll move that.
Second.
I'll move an amendment to the name change to Robertson Implement Company, or to correct the name.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore.
Abstain.
You can vote on the regular motion.
I've got some discussion for this.
Whoops.
I feel like this is another instance where we are being too technical with the bids and we're losing out on the whole picture. For these next two, if these mowers will last another year, I don't see why we wouldn't take the low bid on both of these with Bernie's. That'd save us thousands of dollars. We could get one more year of life out of these mowers.
We did get a memo regarding this as well, just kind of for the length of time that it was going to take and the livelihood of where the mowers were at, right?
Yes, Travis Bodlock, fleet supervisor. On the mowers that we have now, we basically have bought those mowers 2 and 3 times over. So our repair bills are very, very high on those.
So the mowers that we're going out and we're bidding for, right, that we're sending bids out for, we've got 2 bids that are being returned back on mowers that aren't being accepted because they don't match up with the bid that we're making.
Yeah, that was on the motor specification. We specified Kawasaki or Kohler. The low bid manufacturer could supply Kohlers, but because of supply chain issues, they cannot get those right now.
And what's the deal for, as far as the mower, for the engines that we're requiring, the bids are returned on, is that due to parts, due to certifications to repair them? What's the reason for that? And what are the amounts for the bids? We didn't have amounts for either of those bids. So even if they didn't meet our specifications, it'd be nice to know what the bid price was for those.
So in my professional opinion, the Kawasaki motors are their leading motor out there. They're in all the major manufacturers. So that's why I elected to go with those 2 brands.
Like to go with it.
Yeah, the parts are readily available. Mechanics are used to working on those. They're very, very dependable motors.
But other than that, we don't have any requirement to go with that brand.
Nothing requires it,
Okay. And so now that we've voted to supply you with those mowers from the last item, would you be able to take those mowers and the existing mowers that we have and ride out the season so that we could wait and save taxpayers thousands of dollars for next year?
No.
I do want to point out, we've delayed these purchases 2 years already.
Right.
They were they were bid out and ultimately not awarded in 2019 or 2020. So we've already postponed 2 years.
I understand that.
And with the maintenance costs that we're now paying on these mowers, you're in effect going to buy another mower in the deferred maintenance.
In the interim.
Yeah.
Even with
That's why we recommend proceeding forward.
You're making a kind of a broad statement there, both of you. You're going to bring that kind of a statement to me, you better be showing me those repair bills.
I can do that.
Well, I mean, don't come telling me that and not have backup for that. I got a real hard time with that because we have a tendency to convince ourselves that we need to buy stuff without proving it. And what kind of motors were on those?
Kawasaki motors.
Well, then how come they aren't doing any better? If you're obviously, when you say you're buying a new motor, the only thing that you do that costs that kind of money is a new motor. So have you replaced a bunch of motors on these?
No.
Well, then you're not buying new mowers then.
The mowers that we currently have are not a true commercial mower. They're more of an acreage type mower, where our mowers are used as a commercial mower. They're ran every day. They have an average hours on them right now are 1,729 hours across the fleet of mowers that we have, which is quite a few hours on a lawnmower.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna move, we defer 23 for a week and you get all that information.
Sure, will do.
Withdraw my motion.
No, the vote was not.
I'll withdraw my motion to the amendment, if you'll withdraw the second, Alex. If you want us to keep it, then we'll vote on it. I don't care.
Well, what are we looking for? I guess
Well, when somebody tells me that, and I'm not doubting them, I just want to see. I want to see what we spent, what this mower costs, and I want to see what they've spent on repairs for these, how many, 8 mowers, that's all.
22 did pass.
22 passed, I'm fine with that. But if you don't want it, then let's vote, I don't care. Well,
Yeah, I mean-
I'd call for the question then.
For 22. Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's fine if you want to call for a question again. I was assuming I knew that we bid these out or were going to a couple of years ago, and so I assumed they were in pretty disrepair and yeah, I understand the situation you're in and how expensive those can get.
And they're not getting any cheaper.
We're voting on the amendment.
Yes.
No.
No, I called it.
No,
vote on-
we're voting on the amended motion. Yeah.
On
Correct,
20.
not on the amendment. We're
On the
voting
amended motion, on the-
as amended. So
on-
you're voting
as
on,
amended to
voting
implement.
on 23.
Correct.
Right. The amendment is implement,
That did
the
pass.
word.
Yeah, 4-0, 1.
But the mowers that we're getting, just to clarify, they're actually an upgrade from like a home and acreage mower to a commercial mower.
Yes, they are.
So
full-
their longevity, their toughness for the number of hours in,
Yes, they are a full commercial mower with a 5-year, 1,500-hour warranty.
So the lifespan of these mowers that we're talking about, what was in the paperwork was 6 years. So 2 years ago, before that 6-year lifespan, they were spent and we needed new mowers. So they made it 4 of that 6 years.
I was not working for the city at that time, so I can't answer that 100%. Do you know?
but that could be because we're using them for commercial use and not home acreage use.
Right.
You think that's
What
probably
kind did
why?
you have?
I think got the warranty.
Woods.
What?
Woods.
I've never heard of that. I want to know why we're not getting the John Deere. They're the
They were
best.
higher.
Just kidding.
Not everybody can afford green, Julie, like you. Some of
I
us
knew
gotta
you were going
go
to say
dark,
that. I
light
shouldn't
brown.
have said it. I think there was a time frame problem on that, wasn't there?
Yeah,
No?
there's time frame issues all over. Robertson's actually has all but 2 of the mowers on hand, and the other 2 they can have within 2 weeks. Everybody else, John Deere could get them in a reasonable amount of time. Another person here in town was talking until July of 23 before they could receive them.
And I would say too, I mean, I think that there's a lot to be looked into. Nice.
So, I knew that was going to happen. That's why I didn't care. I'm not stupid. It's not my first rodeo here today.
I was just gonna say I've worked actually extensively with Mr. Carney. We've had conversations about the fleet and what we can do to improve longevity, rotate, think creatively. I think that we need to push all of our departments to do that.
Right.
However, I also understand the fact that just because I've ridden on a riding lawnmower, I don't know as much as maybe Kelly Bach or maybe
Okay,
yourself,
well,
when it comes to mowers.
That's
So
why
I
I
think at
didn't
some
care.
point in time, we do need to trust our staff rather than saying, show me every receipt, because I understand how time consuming that can be. So I just wanted to voice my support for staff. I understand what you're working on, but I continually think we need to push ourselves as Mr. Carney and I've talked, to think of creatively of how we can be more efficient with taxpayer dollars. So that's all I wanted to say.
Right, and this will be the right tool for the job. That's another thing.
Yes, it will be.
Because would we even be able to file under a warranty using an acreage mower for commercial city work? Because I know that a lot of times when the tool's not being used for the intended job, it can void the warranty.
It can, yes. With these being a full commercial, they will be covered under warranty.
These will, but the past ones may
Past
not.
mowers,
They had to have, you bid a
Some you can.
warranty.
Some
You
you
bid a
can't.
warranty, they accepted that in their bid.
Oh, okay,
They
so that's
have to be
included in the
covered.
bid.
Yep.
Okay.
City Attorney, my abstentions are because of conflict of interest for 22, 23.
It'll be back next week.
It failed.
It'll be back next week because it's 2-1.
When it results in a tie such as this, then it will come back at the next council meeting.
Well, no, in that week,
Hopefully
it
we'll
gives
have
them
some-
time if that's the evidence that they want. That's
24 is a resolution awarding a purchase order Robertson implementation for 3 Gravely Pro Turn 72-inch deck riding lawnmowers. I'll move that.
second.
I'll move to amend to read Robertson Implement Company.
Second.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Abstain, conflict of interest.
O'Kane.
Aye.
You want to do the same
Want
song
light
dance?
screen up
Oh,
here?
sure, there we go.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Got a lot of things to do tonight.
Got a kid's
My
con.
mind.
Stay with me until we're done here. .401, it'll come back next week. Citizen concerns, are there any citizens who want to be heard? Please come to the microphone. 221. Come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, Mr. O'Kane.
Let's see here. The powwow from last weekend is scheduled to next Sunday, and that is going to be at West High, starting at 9 a.m. Same schedule as before. And that's everything.
Julie.
I don't have anything today.
Alex.
You know I'm not going to
No,
disappoint
I knew
you.
that.
So, yeah, I got a few things.
I don't know, but it's not.
3 minutes?
I got you.
Lighting
I got you. I got a few things. Yeah, exactly. So the first one is going to be National Bike to Work Day. I would just encourage, that's coming up on May 20th. So you got a little bit of time, but I thought I'd put it out there. May 20th is National Bike to Work Day. So if you get registered for that event, you can actually stop down at the Chamber of Commerce for a breakfast from 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. So register down there. They also have T-shirts, things like that available. So if you're interested in Bike to Work, please look into that a little bit more so you can participate. The second thing that starts tomorrow, it might be my favorite week in all of Sioux City, is Restaurant Week is going to be happening. So if you haven't participated in Downtown Restaurant Week, you really should consider it this year. You can go to Downtown Partners. I believe it's on their website. I know it's on their social media. They have all the different menus and restaurants that are participating. All of their menus are posted on there, so you can check those out. Basically, the premise is they want to offer a discounted deal and maybe different offerings that aren't offered at other point in times to get you to try different restaurants, go do different things. So a perfect example, Woodbury's Steakhouse inside the Warrior just posted. You can actually get a 3-course meal for $30. So
They're all
it's coming.
$30.
Yeah, all
Yep.
$30. So you can get usually on most of them a 3-course meal. Which, gosh, when you look at the menus, it's a pretty good deal. So I think Main and Abbey, Table 32, Diving Elk, Mardo, a few Soho. There are quite a number of different restaurants that are participating. So
I thought there was only one restaurant. I thought Soho's was the only one.
right, you better believe it. Well, they're doing it well. So make sure to try to go to as many as you can. It's actually Tuesday through Saturday. So any of those nights, you can go to one, you can go to them all, or actually there might not be enough days to be able to go to all of them. But the last thing that I would make a pitch for Restaurant Week is if you make sure to post your photos to social media and use a specific hashtag, things like that, you can actually, like if we went tomorrow night, you post it and you win the drawing, you can actually win gift cards to be able to finance your endeavor the next night. So it's a pretty good deal. It's a lot of fun going out to different restaurants and seeing what they came up with. So please support your local restaurants during Restaurant Week. The last thing that I wanted to mention is something that I tell you what, I don't know if all of you were losing your mind about over the last week or so with all of this wind, but Litter Dash is coming up this Friday. I know Dan's going to talk about it as well, but I think there's a lot of work to be done. I think that we have city staff that works tirelessly and trying to do our part as well, but now's a time when we as citizens can step up and do our part as well. And participate in a great program. Hundreds of individuals have done so in the past, and so I would encourage you and really ask whether you're a private citizen that wants to just make a difference and pay it forward to your community and play your part, or if you're a business, I would really challenge you to ask yourself if you would take just an afternoon or a morning on Friday, this coming Friday, the 29th, to allow your employees to participate in that. I think it's a great team bonding exercise as well as just promotes that workplace culture. So if you can emphasize the importance of cleaning up your little corner of the world here in Sioux City, we would really appreciate that. I know that the city manager has been a big proponent of that and allowing our city employees to participate. And so I would just encourage anyone, whether you're downtown or in other areas, to please do so. Last thing.
And in this case, you can work here and not reside here and do it.
Yeah, there you go.
No
Exactly.
exception necessary.
If you're working, you don't have to be a citizen to help us
Right.
make sure to keep our city clean. The last thing that I just wanted to mention as far as Litter Dash is, I don't know if everyone received the email, but I received the citizen concern email, and it was about banning plastic bags at our grocery stores and what the opportunity was to do that. I would defer to the city attorney or maybe any other members of council that remember this debate, because I'm told that it came before me. But that we are not allowed to ban certain substances such as plastic bags because the state of Iowa, in their inherent wisdom, as the mayor would say, feel that they should be able to make decisions about your community rather than your city council. So to answer that, and I'll answer it via email, we're not able to ban substances such as plastic bags, although I would encourage you to use paper bags if at all possible at grocery stores. Think about the waterways, think about the trash that you're seeing along the roadways, and just really do your part to clean up the environment. So that's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Mr. Moore. Okay, I just want to continue discussion on our boards and committees, if I may, those that may be interested in these boards. Active Transportation Advisory Committee has 4 vacancies. Building and Housing Code Board has 1. Effective Fiscal and Public Policy Committee has 2 vacancies. Environmental Advisory Board has 2. I thought we filled those. Environmental Advisory Board. But anyway, we have 2 vacancies there. Kosovo Sister City Committee, 1. Historic Preservation Commission, 3. Parks and Rec Advisory Board, 1 vacancy. Seniors Advisory Committee, 2. I can help you work on that, Matthew, to populate that committee. And then Transit System Advisory Board, 1. And as I stated before, Yamanashi City Sister City Committee, 7 vacancies. What does this say?
Workers Union Memorial. I forgot about that.
Well, then you go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, I made the spiel about it last week because I was mistaken about the week it was. But this Thursday at the Union Hall, we'll be having the Workers Memorial event.
5 o'clock?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yeah, 6 p.m.
That's
Calendar?
28th?
It's Friday night, or Thursday night.
Thursday night.
6 o'clock. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Scott?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
O'Kane?
Aye.
Shaner?
Got it.
Aye.
I sent you a text message and then I was like, he's not going to check it.